Let's get right into today's guest. We have Ryan Green from Gridwise, the CEO. Ryan, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey Ryan, what's up? Long time coming. Seriously, we've been trying to get you for a while, but then this worked out perfectly because we're going to meet you in person at Curbivore in about a month or so, not even.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Definitely agree. Long overdue, but I've kept up with the show, so definitely a big fan and excited to be here today. So again, thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate it as always. So let's get right into it. Tell us about Gridwise. What is Gridwise? Obviously, you're the CEO. I know about Gridwise, but then our audience may not know much about it. In fact, I just highlighted a comment. Mo Nuri says, I use Gridwise Plus and I absolutely love it. So there you go. So what is Gridwise? What do you guys do?
That's great to hear. Yeah, there's thousands and thousands of drivers who are coming in saying very similar things. And so think of Gridwise as this all-in-one companion app for a rideshare driver, delivery driver, any type of on-demand gig worker. It is an app that is focused on helping you maximize your income, helping you work smarter, not harder. So how do we do that? You come into the app as a driver. You're able to link over about 20 different accounts that you may be working for, track your earnings across about 175 different types of gig services as well. And you use our app to help you best kind of plan when and where you should be working based off of all the different types of insights we will give you about your market that you are working on, or you can switch to other markets if you change where you're working. But also you use us as a companion while you're working. We're tracking all of your trips, all of your earnings, all of your mileage tax deductions, but also helping you make real-time decisions on when and where you should be working as well. So after you've gone out, you've completed working, now we're actually using us to kind of track all of your performance stats, see how you're doing compared to the market, and keep track of those trends over time. So really think of us as this, again, all in one place. You're coming to Gridwise to manage everything about your gig work all in one place. And it's helping you. What we see is like with drivers who are using this and are dedicated to using our app, in the first 30 days, we see about an average increase of about 30% in their hourly earnings from using the app.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the Rideshare Guy, you said it too. It's not work hard, it's work smart, right? And efficiency, right? Utilization, multi-apping, all these things that we've been talking about until we're blue in the face. Some people listen, some people don't. But then the ones that don't are the ones that complain. I'm not making any money. I'm like, well, maybe you should listen. So Gridwise is great for that, for all your apps under one roof, basically, right? And so I know about it again, but then I want you to tell us, the different platforms or different levels of service you offer to the driver community. And we'll then, after that, once we're done with that, we're obviously going to have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is your wonderful 2025 gig mobility report that came out about a month ago, and we highlighted it on the show. But let's talk a little bit about the different levels of Gridwise services you're offering.
Yeah, of course. So we have a pretty simple set of plans that exist. We have a basic plan, the free version of Gridwise, available for anybody to come in and register for an account within seconds and be able to start using the app and gaining value out of it. We do have a premium version as well. That is $9.99 a month, or $71.99 a year as well. And so really, like, the difference between those two plans is we would say that in the actual premium version, you're kind of paying for the convenience of automation. So if you want to connect all of your gig work accounts, you want to track everything about your work and not have to touch anything, then we're able to do that automatically across all of your tax deductible mileage, all of your trips and earnings, everything about your work coming in and being in one central place, and you being able to keep up with your business without really having to do a lot of manual curation. On the basic version, it allows you to track a lot of the same things, but in many cases requires you to actually kind of manually curate more of that information, like manually input your earnings or expenses or things of that sort. And so really the reason why we delineate between that automation and convenience is that there are additional costs for us to actually be able to support and service, provide that type of service as well. And so those are at a high level. There's many features and many different components of features that maybe are differentiated between those. That's kind of the main piece. I would call out a few of the minor ones would be additional insights or other components or additional insights, advanced insights we provide around the market of different stats you can track around, like if I wanted to see what's the best neighborhood for tipping in mornings driving for Uber. And because I'm going to drive for Uber that day, I can get that granular and see those types of things. But I also have access to this unique marketplace of offers, and there's many offers that are available to all users in the basic plan, but there's also Gridwise Plus specific offers that are only provided to plus users as well.
Right. So it's not just data, but also marketplace, right? And so the gig world, obviously, look where we are in 10 years, right? I mean, gig economy is not, it's been only around 10 years, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in its full force anyway. And look where we are, right? From its infancy to millions and millions of people up to, according to Uber, if you believe what they say, up to, hi Uber, it's up to 7 million people are on their platform. I mean, globally, right? So by the way, is Gridwise just for the US or is it international? Because we have viewers in UK and New Zealand and all over the place. So can they use Gridwise in their markets as well, or is it just US based at the moment?
Gridwise is US based at the moment, and I will say that we have international ambitions.
Okay, that's enough. That's spoken like a true CEO. So one other thing that I wanted to touch upon about Gridwise is that how has the growth been at Gridwise? Like, I mean, obviously exponentially, gig economy exploded, has your growth kept pace with with the gig economy itself?
Yeah, I would say is if you think about the kind of trajectory of Gridwise over time, is like when we started, and for the first few years, we're very rideshare centric.
Yeah.
Really, we had ambitions to really broaden our support and capabilities and features to delivery workers and other types of on-demand gig workers as well that perform household goods and services or walk your dogs on demand or things like that. And I would say what really catalyzed our urgency to expand into those other areas of the gig economy was the pandemic. So we were seeing really great exponential growth. Pandemic comes, we're very rideshare centric. Our business completely tanks instantly as that happens. And so as we started to expand into the delivery, that allowed us to see quite a bit of a turnaround towards the latter part of 2020 and see really great growth in 2021 and beyond. So we've got hundreds of thousands of gig workers across the US who are actively using Gridwise to manage all of their work. And so we're continuing to see great growth across the platform in the US. And we see still a lot of upside for growth here. And then in the future, as we look at other geographies outside the US.
Yeah, are you a serial entrepreneur? I mean, this is your first foray into this kind of, app-based platform, or what have you done before?
Yeah, it's no, great question. This is the first venture-backed company that I've started and scaled to this extent. I did start a company, bootstrapped it in college in the financial services space. We built a web application called FX Connection and had continued to scale that as I was in active duty military. But we shut it down after two and a half years, as it was all my partners were on planes and boats around the world, and so it just wasn't conducive to running a company. And at that time, this was like this was like a really key moment for Gridwise, is that I was tinkering with a lot of other concepts, and this new concept called Uber came to the city I was stationed in. They expanded there, so I took a few rides, but then I signed up to drive, and I was like, and everyone was like, "What? What are you doing? Like you're in the military, you're doing this X, Y, and Z. Why are you going out and driving?" I was like, I don't know. This is really interesting concept. Something's here. But as soon as I maybe went out for the second time to work, I was really surprised by like how challenging it was to actually work. I felt blind out on the road. There wasn't anything really helping to guide me on like where where I should be working. Fast forward, when I get out of the military, I go into banking, and but I also signed up for Lyft. So I was actively driving for Uber and Lyft, taking rides with Uber and Lyft, and between as I was outside of work. And that's where that the light bulb had lit up, where I was just like, wow, I'm experiencing the pain points firsthand, and being a driver, I'm talking to a lot of drivers as well, hearing them complain about a lot of the same pain points I'm experiencing, and seeing that there is no app that's really collectively helping gig workers best manage their work across all these platforms they work for, and help them better optimize their time and maximize their earnings. So that's what really started. That was the kind of the epiphany that it had happened at that time. That kind of the early genesis that fruitioned into the early beginnings of Gridwise.
Yeah, but well, your advantage was that you were a driver. You felt the pain points, and then built something that's going to serve those. Any plans for IPO or going public or things like that, or are you going to stay private, or what's happening?
I think we're continuing to stay private, focused on continuing to deliver value to our core user base, and ensuring that, I think the most important thing for us, and what I like to do, is build options. And so if we have the option to do that and see that in the future, like it's we want to position ourselves for that. I think as being a venture scale company, we're focused on rapidly scaling the platform. So that could be a future option that we do consider, but keeping our options open now.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about. So you've done these reports called gig mobility reports. How many years
Yep.
have you in a row? Have you? This is the one from comparing. This is, I think, from 2024, 2022, 2023. So Len put this. Len Sherman. Hey, Len, our good friend
Hey,
from
Len.
Columbia Business School.
Yeah.
With the help of Gridwise, he put a couple of articles out where Uber and Lyft Uber specifically did not like it, but numbers don't lie. So Brian, every time we talk about these things, okay, this is what I hear the next day, or in an email or whatever, right? So they go like, small sample size, edge case. I'm going like, what are you guys talking about? Edge case. If it happens to one driver, is one too many drivers, but forget about that part. Let's just so this is the 22-23 report, and comparing, right, earnings of drivers. It's for us. Look, we do our surveys, we get obviously responses. Earnings have always been at the top of the list, right? I'm not making enough money. I'm not making enough money. I'm like, okay. So second one is always safety or unjust deactivations, just kind of switch around. And the third one and the fourth one is support, obviously, which is lack of support instead of just support. I call it black hole. But so earnings, so the trend, I'm involved in equity markets. I was a derivatives equities trader for 30 years on Wall Street, right? There's something that we say, the trend is your friend. Just follow a trend. So how's the trend been as far as driver earnings are concerned?
I think as you look at the screenshot that you guys have here, 2022 over to 2023, is like you saw a little bit of a bag in terms of their earnings trends there. As you saw, like something a little bit more positive from Lyft and gross earnings. You saw positive from Grubhub, and some declines in these other services mentioned. As we look at our gig mobility report, reflective of 2024. This is the second report that we've produced, and as we look at the trend there, Sergio, is like there is a very stark difference in the trend this year. This past year is that you're seeing across the board, you're seeing earnings for almost every major service have declined as we look at hourly earnings, while workers are working more. So they're working more out on the road, and they're earning less, which those are two different types of forces that you don't want to go against each other. If you work more, you hopefully would earn more, right? And so I think that has been something that has been, you guys, as you mentioned, you're always talking about this. Our report has maybe helped validate some of those assumptions of things that we've been hearing about a lot the market over this last year. So that drop in rideshare pay, I think we saw it was about 4 to 6% across Uber and Lyft, about 4 or 5% on delivery services as well. We did see that some of the food-focused delivery services like a Doordash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, they actually did see like take-home pay increase, but they had to work a lot more to see that happen. So there at least was like the right balance there, where it's like it's unfortunate you have to work more to be able to maintain or see a slight increase in take-home pay, but at least as they are working more, their pay is increasing. But hourly pay across those services as well also declined.
So that's on the face of, I mean, we all experience this, right? In something called inflation, cost of living increases, right?
Yep.
Our cars, our maintenance, it's on us, right? I mean, according to the US government, from the last reports I checked, car maintenance over the last 4 years has gone up close to 50%.
Yeah.
And so if you're working more hours, your cost of doing business, which is your car, that's the tool you take to work, is higher. And your earnings are going down 4%, 5% on an annual basis. So the trend is not a good situation. The trend is not your friend in this case. The other thing that I want to talk to you a little bit about, so is Gridwise report an edge case? Is it like what happened there? Is it like, am I going to get a phone call from Uber tomorrow? Yeah, it's just not enough sample size. So what was the sample size for these reports? Like how many trips did you look at? And the other things I want to talk about after this is the rider. What's happening to the rider? What's happening to the consumer? So, remind me if I forget that. But so how many data points did you look at to put this report together?
Yeah, I would say there's a few points that as we look at the inputs into this report that I think make this a pretty credible report. One is like the sample size. We're looking at nearly 250,000 drivers that we are tracking. We tracked over 1.7 billion earnings on just in 2024. Over 164 million trips that we've analyzed as part of this report as well. And so I think as we look at that, I think the benefit of that, not only the benefit of the sample size is there, but there's also the benefit of how it's collected. We talked about, when drivers come in and they use our application, they're able to connect their accounts and actually programmatically or automatically like pull in their trips, their earnings, and things like that. So this is directly being pulled in. This isn't some PDFs that are being submitted that may have some human error to them or anything like that. So we're seeing the ground truth, insight, and data that's being contributed to the findings that have come out in this report.
So millions of trips, right? So I mean, look, that's why I think a third-party app like Gridwise is important, because you need to earn more money just to keep pace with inflation, let alone do anything else. So what better way than using the services of an app like Gridwise to increase your earnings? You need to increase your earnings. I mean, we're all doing this for money. We're not doing this for charity, Uber. I mean, seriously, like, we're not a public service. We're not going to take your drunks around for like $4 a trip. So our goal is to just make everybody more efficient, but then with the help of Gridwise, we can get them there probably. So in this report, there was one other part that kind of confirms what we've been saying, talking to rider groups, obviously, but also, drivers as well, is that, so last 2.5, 3 years, Uber started this and then Lyft joined, and everybody else is doing it, obviously. Something called upfront fares, right? Yep. So we're running dual algos, these wonderful evil algos that they create and change around probably 6 times a day in a given city. So what they do is they charge the rider as much as they can, with certain elasticity, because there's a pesky Lyft out there. They can't charge too much, right? And they pay through these algos, they pay as little as they can. What say you about that? Because I think it was 7.2% that the rider fares had gone up.
Yeah, we saw consumer prices, as we can see on every trip. We can see the consumer price, we can see the driver pay. So we're across rideshare and some of the delivery services, and so we saw that consumer prices rose about a little over 7%. as well across cities. Now, if you look at many of the major and mid-market cities, we saw that prices rose across the board. There was not many markets where prices did not increase. Now, you saw some that increased maybe 4 or 5%, while others like Los Angeles increased 26%.
Wow.
So there were some pretty large increases there. And if you look at like the price per mile by various cities, I think something that's really stood out to us is seeing that, those cities that have like minimum wage mandates, like New York or Seattle or others like that. I mean, the price per mile is almost double what it is in other cities in Seattle and New York. And so it's just, I think we've seen just continue rises there. You've seen some decrease in driver pay, but I do think that like at this, I think it's easy for us to look at that there's things easy for us to look at the services and see that, hey, with Uber and Lyft and Doordash and these companies, it's like, hey, they can easily go in and like, move these levers and make everybody happy. And I think they're also kind of like, as they're trying, there's a lot of factors that are going into this that make it difficult for them to do that as well. And I wanted to touch on that a little bit and get your guys' take on it. Is that, I think we've talked a little bit about the market conditions. You were mentioning, Sergio, like inflation, and we see kind of just the cost of living increase. And so you've seen this, I think, over the past few years, this large flock of the population start to gravitate toward using gig work as a means to kind of augment their income. It's like, hey, I need to cover my bills. I need to make more money. This is the easy way to go out and do that. So the supply of workers has increased. And in our report, we've seen that not only reflected like as an impact to maybe one factor of many impacting pay, but also like the idle time of drivers increased as well. And so the drivers are spending more time with nobody in their vehicle, just driving around waiting on the next request for food or people to come in. But then you also have rising insurance costs, which make up a large portion of Uber and Lyft's revenue. And then you have like, I think, in some cases maybe warranted, but in a lot of cases there's kind of malicious level of lawsuits that exist as well that the services are having to account for. And so like they're getting all these additional costs thrown at them. And I think you hear DAR even kind of pushing pretty aggressively right now for like insurance reform, because if you look kind of behind the scenes, like insurance making a killing here, and everyone else is, the service platforms are getting squeezed, so they gotta squeeze and pull levers that they need to, and then they gotta please Wall Street. So it's a really, really difficult model to kind of really make work for all the constituents, and we're kind of feeling the end effect as consumers or as drivers.
Well, I mean, it's a really, really difficult business to be in. I mean, when I talk to the executives from all the way top, all the way down to the doorman at these companies, I do put myself in their shoes, okay? And I do understand Wall Street, and I understand earnings. And since they went public, the squeeze is on the driver, though. And in fact, it was in their S1. It was in their S1. They said it clearly. Look, drivers are not going to be happy because we have to cut pay, and it says it in there. And it has happened. So in a two-sided marketplace, Ryan, you have to charge as much as you can. You have to pay as little as you can to turn a profit, because rideshare or delivery is not exactly a super profitable business, or historically anyway. Yeah, I do get it. And insurance is definitely a pain point on the company's side. And that's why I think every rideshare driver should have a dash cam in their car, to be perfectly honest with you, even if you drive 10 hours or 50 hours a week. I've hit upon anything I wanted to talk about, so I'll give you the floor, close us up, and we're going to see a Herbivore in person, but besides that, give our audience some advice. Give us a sales pitch why they should immediately, right after this, go sign up with Gridwise.
I think there's I'll give some general advice, and then I think there's like the Gridwise specific advice as well. I think and you hinted on this earlier earlier when we started, is that we look at, you guys have been telling drivers you should be multi-apping, doing everything you can to maximize your earnings. And so I think is that you as whether you're part-time or full-time, you should be trying to. I talk to so many drivers. I'm sure you guys talk to so many that you get in the car with them or you talk to them and they're like, oh, I'm only doing this part time. I'm only driving for one service, and it's just like, well, like what? Imagine what you're doing when you're spending downtime. Imagine if you have 2 on at the same time or 3. You can actually like that's going to decrease your idle time and increase your earnings. And if you look at your hourly earnings, I think the challenge is that a lot of drivers don't see their hourly earnings, and it's hard for the services to kind of show them because their apps are turned on and off all the time. And so that's where I think this transitions into the Gridwise part, is that's where an app like Gridwise really comes into play, and where we can really be beneficial is that think of us as a layer over all the services. So as you're working across them all, turning them on, turning them off, working as you see fit, whether it's one service, it's multiple, we are able to capture the full breadth of all of your work activity, all of your work history, and actually help you see your true hourly earnings, help you see your true dollars per mile, all of your tipping stats, everything about your work in one place. And so I think having that full financial picture, having the benefits at tax season, and being able to leverage our insights to help you maximize, increase your potential earnings are all the reasons why you should be using Gridwise as you're out working on the road, whether you're a rideshare driver, food, grocery delivery, or even doing parcel for like a roadie, Amazon Flex, walking dogs on Wag, Rover, etc.
Yeah.
So I think the us being drivers ourselves has really helped us build an application that we see has become the leading business app for gig workers in the US today.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000,000%. And drivers who are just stuck on one single app, they're not going to make it. I mean, let it be part-time, let it be full-time. You must multi-app, and you must, because there's a glass ceiling in this, Ryan. I mean, we can't do like 50 trips an hour, right? So we need to utilize, it's called utilization factor. We need to utilize that hour, that 60 minutes, as much as we can. We need to be with the person in the car, or food in the car, or groceries in the car, doing it. Sitting on our butt, I might as well sit at home, watch YouTube. Why am I going to sit in my car and watch YouTube? You know what I mean? So utilization factor is something important. I want to also touch upon one other thing. There's a lot of these company CEOs, they come out and say, I know I wanted you to finish, but I'll give you more time to finish. They go,
okay.
Nationwide, right? Drivers are earning $30 an active hour, right? Yeah. Active hour is something that came around after, this. So your report is not active hour, correct? Your report is online hour, basically, right?
Our report is full coverage of like we're including your downtime and your active time. So it's like really your full like working period that is not going to be seen in anything that those companies are reporting.
Yeah, active time is hocus pocus. So that's what I'm going to finish with.
Yeah, because active time, I think in a lot of cases, it's like that you back into that. It's really like your time on trip. It's like, and it's like, okay, well, if I was 100% utilized, then active time would make complete sense to report. But nobody is 100% utilized, not even close. So it's you've got to look beyond active time.
I 100% agree. So Ryan, thank you for coming on. We appreciate you showing up. We're going to see you in person, hopefully in a month or so. And please go visit Gridwise. The links are in the show notes. Please go check them out. I think it's probably the best third-party app out there. And if you want to earn more, incrementally more, because if you're out there 50 hours a week, people, you earn a couple of bucks extra for those hours through the help of Gridwise app. That's $100 a week, $400 a month, $5,000 a year, people. You got to think that way. Am I right on that one? I think my math is pretty good.
I think it's pretty spot on there.
Yeah. So,
well, guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. This was great. Appreciate and respect the show. You guys are doing a lot to give drivers more insight into how they should be thinking about how they operate and help them stay up on top of everything that's happening in the industry. So this is great.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.